Welcome to the Collaborative Synergy podcast, where we bring together passionate, driven individuals to share their unique expertise, experience, and insight. I'm your host, Kendra Rouser, founder of Collaborative Synergy Consulting. At Collaborative Synergy Consulting, we believe in the power of collaboration to achieve extraordinary results. Each episode, we'll dive into engaging conversations with industry experts, thought leaders, and change makers who are dedicated to making a difference. From project management and business analysis to leadership coaching and team building, our guests will share their knowledge, skills, and stories to inspire and empower you. Join us as we explore a variety of topics, learn from the best, and discover new ways to harness the power of collaboration. When we come together, we create a synergy that amplifies our strengths and propels us towards success. So let's connect, learn, and grow. Welcome to Collaborative Synergy Podcast. Welcome, Amanda, to the podcast today. I'm so glad that you're here with us. I wanted to share with the group a little bit about how we first met. A couple years ago, we worked together on a large IT project, and you at that time were the client partner. And we had a really good relationship, and we stayed in touch over the years. And so I'm so glad that you're back. And now I hear you're the regional vice president. So congratulations on the promotion. I think it's going to be really exciting to talk today and learn about how partnering through challenges with MTX is a very good experience for your partners that you partner with, and that we can give some great suggestions and valuable insight to others so that they can use it on their own projects moving forward. Sound good?
Wonderful. I'm super excited to be here and see you again, Kendria. Thank you so much for the invitation.
From our partners' perspective, what are some of the key strengths technology consulting firms bring to a digital transformation in large projects?
Yeah, thank you so much, Kendra, for the question. That's a great question. First of all, implementation partners specialize in technologies and specialize in complex digital transformation, like cloud computing, cybersecurity, data analytics, and change management. As we have moved in society to a very tech-friendly world, there are components of doing these big digital transformations that are crucial to understand and implement very well. Secondly, they offer an objective point of view. Large organizations sometimes have internal politics or legacy processes, and consultants sometimes offer an unbiased perspective. This identifies areas of improvement and recommendations based on the solution or best practices, and even industry trends that will help your agencies or your departments to modernize in a more effective way. Thirdly, we tend to offer really structured methodologies. Structured is important in these larger implementations because you can get lost in the detail. Structuring your methodology can be crucial to ensuring that projects stay on track and on budget and ideally deliver the desirable outcomes. Fourth, an outside agency is a catalyst for change. They bring new perspectives. They are outside of the organization, and consultants can often facilitate different ways of thinking. And lastly, because they are not part of the organization, largely they can be scalable and flexible. This often happens in large projects because you have to surge resources. There are times when you'll need more testers versus more developers versus more project management, and scaling up and down your teams is incredibly crucial for success.
I remember back to the really large project that we worked on together, and they had some of those challenges on that project. And I think it was great partnering with MTX during that time. We worked really well together, and it helped us overcome some of those challenges. So our second question, what are some common misconceptions between business and IT teams regarding the digital transformation on a large project?
Thank you, Kendria. That's a very important question because misconceptions can derail the very best planned digital transformation. Here are some common ones that we tend to see. Misconception one is that it's just about technology. Digital transformation isn't solely about implementing new software or hardware. In reality, it's fundamentally about changing people, process, and culture. This requires aligning an organizational strategy, changing minds, upskilling employees. The technology is a tool, but it's not the only driver. The second misconception is that it's a one-time project. Digital transformation is not a one-time project with a start and an end date. It's an ongoing journey. It's continuous improvement and continuous adaptation. Businesses really have to embrace and adapt to the agility and be prepared to evolve consistently with strategies and technologies, and of course, our ever-changing end customers or end user needs. A third misconception is quick wins are the only wins. It is important to show an immediate return on investment. While quick wins are important for momentum, in large-scale transactions, long-term investments require strategic focus. This can benefit many people, but it's usually not realized over months. Sometimes these larger scaled implementations take years. Another one is IT projects can do it alone. Digital transformations require a huge collaboration amongst businesses, amongst leaders, amongst the community. It is crucial that IT not work in a silo. Business leaders have to be actively involved, setting vision, driving change, and ensuring alignment across all the business objectives. Overcoming misconceptions is really crucial for the realistic expectations, fostering collaboration, and ultimately achieving success in digital transformation.
I feel like on our project that we worked together, we had really strong collaboration between MTX and the agency that you were working on the system for, which was beneficial to us. And I'm curious if you can share an example of when you had close collaboration with your team and a client that led to an outcome that exceeded expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. We work mostly in the public sector, and there are many agencies across the Western United States that I personally have worked with. And the primary focus is implementing a new CRM system, or possibly implementing a new licensing, permitting, inspection system, or a general 360. What this means is having a very deep understanding of what the business's need is, not just looking at the surface level requests. We need to invest the time in understanding the overall business strategies. One of the beautiful strengths of MTX is we tend to work with people who have had many years of public sector experience, and that helps us collaborate closely with our business partners as well as our IT partners, and understanding what the stakeholders and departments do. This includes things like shadowing employees, observing workflows, analyzing customer journey data together. Often, one of the crucial collaboration components is open and frequent conversation. And this is an area I felt like we really did well at. Kendra and I spent many, many evenings, mornings, afternoons, text messages, having communication processes with regular updates, feedback sessions, and collaborative problem solving. This ensures we're aligned every step of the way and that we could quickly adapt to new insights. Challenging assumptions. Really important to build that close relationship, because we all have our preconceived notions. And the truth is, bringing a fresh perspective to some of these challenges and challenging initial assumptions can give us crucial successes that maybe we didn't think about initially. And the more you work closely together and create a safe place to really analyze relevant bottlenecks, the easier it is going to be to take those challenging of assumptions and turn them into productive, tangible goals that can be achieved. And with that is iterative. I mean, we live in a world now where technology is consistently changing, and we are working more and more in an agile framework. Instead of delivering final products at the end, the iterative approach helps us work on prototypes, gather feedback continuously, and allow us to continually refine the solutions to have real world solutions. And most of the cloud technologies are consistently changing too. So that's super crucial to ensuring that what we're building has a long-term impact. As a result of this collaboration, we tend to deliver significant outcomes that fully, surprise some of our clients. Sometimes Good examples of this are in some state agencies we've worked with in a couple of my projects. Licensing applications moved from 6 weeks to 3 days. That's not because they had an influx of staff. That's because we really listened to not only what the end customer needed, refined that need, but also so that the end user, the state employee, was able to really refine what they needed to address in a quick and efficient manner. Good question.
I was thinking back to when we worked together, and I was thinking, you're right, that collaboration and that communication was my favorite part of working on that project. I loved working the late nights and chatting with you and trying to figure out the problem that we were faced with and come up with a really good solution that we both felt others would agree to. And then we could propose that together, standing together saying, hey, we've brainstormed all these options and this is where we are. It was a really fun part, a lot of work, but a very fun part of working with you. And with MTX, I was really happy to see that they were willing to be very iterative. They were going to do what they could. They were going to show us what they did. And sometimes the feedback was we needed something to be modified. And they were very open to hearing that and working with us to make sure that what they did deliver really worked for us. So that was a good experience and a good example of collaboration with you and with your team. What are some of the best practices for businesses to maintain smooth communication with clients, especially during like more complex phases of projects?
Maintaining smooth communication is essential to getting a complex project going well. It's absolutely essential for clients to have success and satisfaction in a project. Here are some of, in my opinion, some key best practices. Essential communication plans up front. At project onset, let's create a very detailed communication plan. This should outline communication frequency. How often do you need updates? Daily, weekly, and biweekly. This can change obviously during different phases of the project. Communication channels. Will you use your email? Will you use your phone? Video conferencing. Do you use Slack? Do you use Teams? Do you use Zoom? And which softwares and in what combinations? Key contacts. This is something that's really important, and Kendria was very great at, was ensuring that everybody had a key contact and a partner, somebody who was tackling the same challenge together between the vendor partner and the agency partner so that they could see the different perspectives and solve problems at the right level. Escalation procedures. What is the best way to escalate? When you escalate, how do you address urgent issues or concerns? Some people are afraid of escalations, and escalations are actually incredibly crucial to project success. I highly recommend escalations as a path to ensure success. Reporting format. This one can be a little challenging, and everybody has different perspectives on reporting formats. What kind of reports will be reported on and what information? Most reports are quantitative. However, there is a qualitative component of all of these projects that we do. So understanding that qualitative piece and figuring out a way to quantify it can really make a big difference in a project. Another important piece of this is using the right tools, leveraging technology to facilitate communication, using software management tools like Jira or other ADOs can be invaluable for tracking tasks, sharing documents, providing updates. Video conferencing, sometimes putting on that camera and looking somebody in the face, you can see challenges, frustrations, excitement, joy to all of those things. So I highly recommend that people go on camera and work through challenges together. In a technology world, we aren't often in the same room, so let's try and build those relationships. Another important piece is transparency and honesty. When challenges and roadblocks arises, and it's inevitable that they will, especially in complex projects, be transparent and honest with yourself, with your clients, with the end users. Don't hide it. Don't try and downplay the issue. Focus on what you're addressing, what the plan is, and how to get back on track. Documenting everything is incredibly crucial. It's crucial for a couple of reasons. One, you don't want to go backwards in time and have to restate things. So when you have these incredibly large-scale, complex projects and your inventory in your library is huge, understanding how to access that information quickly, how not to lose it, and how to keep track of key decisions can save a significant amount of time and ensure success. Also, it can be a very challenging component of a project. Sometimes another piece that's important is tailoring communication to situations. Leaders all have to be flexible and adapt communication styles and approaches to specific situations. For example, a technical conversation can be very detailed and go down into the code, where a business conversation can be more about a process. Each one of these communication styles can be handled via email or in person or on a call, but you need to be able to understand what the right communication tool is for that situation. But mostly, the most important thing is fostering a collaborative environment, encouraging people to openly communicate, collaborate between the teams and with the clients, with the end users, with the IT teams, the business teams, the data teams, having joint meetings and workshops, sharing workspaces, and creating a team that is one team with an overall sense of taking on these challenges together and achieving a common goal is incredibly crucial to ensuring success. By following all of these best practices, businesses can navigate the complexities of large projects while maintaining strong, productive relationships with each other to ultimately achieve these large successes.
I was listening to you talk about communication, and I was thinking about the class I just taught, which was Project Management Essentials. And we were emphasizing in that class how important it is, regardless of the type of project you have, to really spend time laying out that communication plan and that matrix. Who are you going to talk to? What are you going to say? How are you going to say it? How are you going to deliver it? How frequently? All the stuff that you mentioned. And we did a lot of that on the project together. And I think we did it really well. I think we were very receptive to feedback from everybody, whether it was the team or the executives. I think that we adapted and modified where we needed to if we saw like not enough communication happening, or maybe people were feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes you have that communication fatigue, right? You're in a lot of meetings all day and you just need time to do the work. And I think we collaborated really well in making sure that the team was finding that balance of getting the right amount of communication and the right messages to the right people. So good memories back in the day.
Definitely.
What are some common mistakes businesses face when managing client relationships during difficult moments, and how can other people avoid these pitfalls?
Yeah, I mean, that is crucial to success. My title when we first started was client partner, and I definitely feel like the role of any vendor is to be a partner. And it's a critical question in some of the most difficult moments and can make or break client relationships. Common mistakes and ways to avoid them. Lack of transparency. When problems arise, it's important to not downplay or hide them. They don't go away. So, but what they do is they can erode trust and they can lead to bigger problems later. So, pitfalls people do often do is, they also overplay what can be a problem that's solved in a short time. So, you know, it's important to communicate issues promptly and clearly and explain the situations, the impacts, the steps you're taking to resolve it. Even bad news can be delivered honestly and is better than a cover up. And we've learned that on many, many of the large scale projects. And that works both ways. We need our clients as well to be radically transparent with us, promptly address a problem so that we can start tackling solutions together. Another common mistake is defensiveness. When a client comes to you with a concern or a complaint, it is natural to feel defensive. Businesses might want to make excuses or blame clients, but the truth is that creates an adversarial dynamic. Nobody needs that. So active listening to clients' perspective and validating their feelings, even though you may not agree with them and even agree with everything they say, acknowledging their frustrations and focusing on finding solutions and not placing blame is incredibly crucial to success. Poor communication is another pitfall. In stressful situations, communications can break down. Businesses might become less responsive and provide vague updates. Failing to keep the client informed leaves the client feeling anxious and even maybe neglected. This is a pitfall that all partners need to avoid. Over communicating can be difficult at times, especially when frequent updates are needed, especially as we're getting closer to go lives and more challenging situations. But be readily available to answer questions, even, communicate in multiple different channels, email, phone calls, text messages, video calls. All of those things are crucial. The important piece also that can be a pitfall is emotional element. Sometimes we're working so hard, we become emotionally invested into these projects, and people are people and we have emotions. I am an empath. Stress, frustration, and anger, they come out sometimes. And the business really needs to focus on the problem and solving the problem, not ignoring the client's emotion, not ignoring your own emotion, but really taking respect to the fact that feelings matter and that we can solve problems through feelings. Practice empathy. Try to understand your client's perspective, acknowledge their feelings, and show that you care about their experience and the commitment they also are making in resolving this issue can lead to satisfaction. But mostly, don't make promises you can't keep. This is incredibly important. You have to make sure that when you promise something to our client that you're delivering. An attempt to appease a client or a business and make an unrealistic promise about timelines or solutions will ultimately lead to a broken promise, and it will damage trust. Be realistic in your commitments, or be realistic in the communication. Say, I'm really going to try for this. I'm doing this investment. I'm adding these many resources. Be clear about your communication. And be honest and adjust your timelines as necessary. Communicate early and often and explain why. Another crucial mistake is failing to document. You want to document these big challenges. You want to document the situations. You don't want to forget a key decision that may impact something 7, 8, 9 months down the road. And this can lead to miscommunications, disputes, and, some long-term challenges. So maintain meticulous records of communications and decisions, confirm key points in writing, use a shared document, use the risk log, use all those tools the PMP teaches you how to do so that we can keep track of progress and issues. Most importantly, be transparent, be empathetic, communicate and focus on solutions, and help businesses navigate difficult moments. Even in the most challenging projects, the strength is all about the client relationship.
I was thinking about, again, the class that I just finished teaching recently, and we were talking about all these same topics. We were just going over why it's so important to be transparent, why it's so important to make sure that you're communicating the right amount, not spamming everybody with messages, but really understanding who needs to know what, when, and how. And remembering that sometimes you won't have for example, an executive steering committee meeting or another meeting that is regularly scheduled. Maybe something comes up, maybe there's a reason, but silence to people often leads to filling that void with all sorts of rumors and things that probably aren't even true, right? So understanding that we have to be visible, we have to be transparent, we have to be honest with each other and just say, hey, here's the situation we're in. And a lot of times on our project, we would follow up with maybe the PowerPoint from that meeting so that they knew, here's what we were going to report out, here's why we're not able to meet. But it avoided the, is something wrong? Is there something I don't know? All those questions that come to mind when people don't have the meeting that they're expecting to have or have the conversation that they're expecting to have. So it's so interesting to hear you say that, because it was what we were just talking about with all the new project managers. We were just helping them understand how important that is. So good to hear you say. How can project managers and teams proactively ensure strong client collaboration throughout a project, especially when facing unexpected obstacles?
Absolutely. Proactive client collaboration is a cornerstone of success to project management. It becomes even more critical when navigating unexpected obstacles. Project managers and teams can foster really close collaboration. Number one, as we've talked about from the beginning, the foundation of trust and communication from the start. Invest in your relationship. Take the time to get to know your partners. Don't treat the initial project phase as transactional. Take the time to get to know the client team, know their communication styles and their organizational culture. Many of the departments I work with, they have jargon that they use consistently. Learn the jargon within those agencies, know what they mean when they use acronyms, and communicate clearly. Another key point of that is establishing communication protocol. Define frequencies, define, preferred channels, escalation paths, as we talked about earlier. Setting realistic expectation, but most importantly, actively listening and hearing from an empathetic perspective. Another crucial tool is proactively communicating and engaging throughout the project. Building that first foundational trust and communication path is really, really crucial. But it takes work throughout the entire life cycle of these projects. And some of these projects will last years. So you need to consistently have regular communication. This can be asynchronous or it can be, verbal. Regular report, making sure that major updates are out, building consistency of trust, using a variety of formats, because reading all the time or demos all the time or video conferences all the time, there are many different learning styles and many different humans out there. So we want to make sure we're effectively communicating to all the different people inside of our teams. We talked earlier about transparency in project management. It's really crucial that our project managers be really honest and transparent with each other, especially about challenges inside of all of the different components of these projects. Risk management and tracking issues. Proactively identifying and communicating potential risk is part of that transparency. Maintaining clear access to issue tracking involving the client in risk mitigation and resolving issue resolution is important. Feedback. I had an executive coach once tell me that feedback is the breakfast of champions, and it may not always taste good, but regularly soliciting feedback from your clients on all aspects of a project demonstrates you value their opinion and you are actively working with your teams to improve consistently throughout these long-term projects. And another key piece that project managers really lean into is unexpected obstacles and collaborative problem solving. Honest and early and often communication, focusing on solutions and not blame. Avoid getting defensive and finger pointing. Maintaining a positive outlook and a solution-oriented attitude is crucial for project managers. Being flexible and adapting to those challenges is incredibly important. Understanding that project plans change and scope changes need, collaborating with all of the teams, documenting changes of scope, timeline, budget, and change requests are important, and getting approvals is incredibly important. Understanding the escalation path, all of these things can ensure success, and a project manager is at the center of most of these. By prioritizing proactive communication, being transparent, collaborative, these approaches to problem solving, project managers can build a very strong team and a very close relationships with our clients. Ultimately, this leads to the successful navigations of some of the most challenging projects.
Well, Amanda, I think that when we worked together in the past, we did a great job of hitting all of the points that you've shared today. And it really did make a difference for me as a client of your company, trying to connect with you. I felt heard, I felt connected, I felt like we built a relationship, not just a business endeavor. And it was truly, truly fun to work with you, and really, really exciting to see all of the skills that MTX has and that they brought to the project. So I really value your input, and I really love hearing all the wonderful things you have been sharing with us. And I think the listeners will really benefit from this information. I hope they take it to heart and apply it in their practices. And I know you have so much more to share with us. So, what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, is pause here in this interview and come back together at another point and do a second part. Because I know we have a few more questions that we wanted to cover. And I feel like this might be a good spot for us to pause the discussion and jump back in later with more good input from you and more about MTX. Does that sound okay with you?
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, we will see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.